Welcome to EDU 710, Introduction to Educational Research. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate a software program called the Student Behavior Inventory. Those of us who are working with students who have special needs, or even if we are regular education teachers and we have students with special needs in an inclusive setting, it's important, since teachers have different tolerances and different expectations, it's important that we're able to sort of match student competencies with teacher expectations. And if we can do that, then individuals with special needs stand a much better chance of success. And this software is an attempt to judge what particular teachers' tolerance levels are so that we then may be able to support them in working with students with special needs. You can see the directions here, and I'll read them to you. And again, the purpose of the Student Behavior Inventory is to gather information on your perception of the importance of students possessing some typical classroom competencies if they were to be in your classroom. By being able to match these student competencies with teacher expectations of how students need to perform in classrooms, we may be able to increase student success and also teacher satisfaction. You will be presented with 30 statements that deal with competencies relating to student communication skills, student work habits, and student classroom participation patterns. You will be asked to indicate whether the particular skill that is presented in the statement is critical for you, is desirable, is unimportant, you're not sure about that particular skill, or it's not applicable for the student to have these competencies if they were in your class. If you indicate critical or desirable, you further will be queried to see if you need assistance or no assistance is required with this particular competency. The results of the survey will be shared with you. Any items you indicated were critical or desirable and also indicated assistance is required will be addressed by your special education resource teacher. Additional information will be provided to you regarding relevant information on best practice interventions, possible teaching strategies, pardon me, or any other type of support you feel might be helpful. Thank you for your cooperation. This particular work is based on work done in the early 90s by Dr. Hill Walker, and you can read his bio. This is right off of his webpage. He's the co-director of the University of Oregon's Institute in Violence and Destructive Behavior. And this software is intended as freeware and is not to be used or sold for profit. It is available for free by emailing your request to me at this email address, happyj1939@yahoo.com. And if you're interested in getting a copy, please email the operating system that you're working with, whether it's a Macintosh, OS X, or Windows, or Linux, or whatever. And by the way, I've contacted Hill Walker about this software, and he's very much in favor of it. Well, let's show you how it works. First, you need to enter some demographic information. So let's put student's first and last name. You have to include a first and last name. Let's say the subject being taught, the teacher that we're interested, let's say they're a math teacher. And how many years experience? Let's say this is their 10 years. And let's say they're female. Now, once all of the demographic information is included, then you just click Begin Inventory, and you will be taken to the first screen. And these are directions, and these directions only appear once. Assume that you are about to receive a student in your class who is identified as having a disability, has an IEP, or is on a 504 plan. Read each behavioral statement below and indicate by clicking in the appropriate box whether you feel it is critical, desirable, or unimportant that the incoming student possess the behavior indicated. If you're not sure about the need for the behavior, click on the unsure box. And if the behavior is not applicable for your classroom situation, click not applicable. So here is your first prompt. The student speaks to others in a tone of voice appropriate to the classroom or activity situation. And you will click that. If this is a critical skill, then you would click critical. If it's a desirable skill but not critical, you'd click desirable. If it's unimportant, you would click unimportant. If you're not sure, you'd click not sure. And if it's not applicable, you'll click not applicable. Well, let's click critical. And now this is a trap to check to make sure you made the right selection. If you didn't make the right selection, you can just click no and nothing happens, and then you can go back again. Okay, well, let's say it's critical and you do accept it. You did make the right selection. Now, since it was critical, it asks you, will you need help in accommodating this student? And you can say, I would need help in working with a student that doesn't have this skill, or I can handle some of it, so there's no need for any assistance. Well, let's assume you would need assistance, so if you click that, and then that's registered, and I'll show you how everything, the summation of data happens. And here's the second prompt. A student can have normal conversations with peers without getting hostile or angry. Well, let's say you think that's critical also, and you do agree with it, so you accept that. And let's say you're concerned the student might have some hostility and you might like some assistance, some support in this. So you click I need assistance. And then you're taken to the third one. A student raises hands before asking a question or asking for assistance, does not call out. And let's say that's desirable and you accept that. And you don't need help with that. You can work with the student on your own with that, let's say. And so you go through then 30, and I'm not going to click on, but you go through 30 different prompts that ask you a bunch of different questions about student competencies. I'm just quickly scrolling through them so you get a little bit of a sense of it. And this is the last one. And when you get to the last screen, we'll put in some data here. Student is able to tolerate the usual school frustrations, example, delays of schedule changes, indoor resets, etc., and can maintain appropriate behavior. And let's say that's desirable. You think that's desirable, you accept that. You don't need help with that. And then it informs you that you've completed the survey. Please notify the person who administered the survey to you. And you click OK. Now you can summarize the data. So if you click the summary report, the data now says it's already summarized, and now you can go and view the summary report. Well, okay, now for the summary report, you have all the demographic information, the date, the teacher's name was Happy Smith, the subject was math, teaching experience 10 years, gender was female. Now, critical items requiring assistance. There were 2 critical items requiring assistance, and they would be listed. Critical items requiring no assistance, we didn't have any of those. Desirable items requiring no assistance, there was none of those. Desirable items requiring no assistance, there were 2. So now, there are just a few behaviors that appear here because I only clicked on 3 or 4. But there would be 30 responses, and it would be broken down so that you would know what competencies this particular teacher who filled this out thought were critical and that they would need assistance with, what competencies they thought were critical but they did not need assistance with, what competencies they thought were desirable and they needed assistance, what competencies they thought were desirable and they did not need assistance, what competencies they thought were unimportant, what competencies they were unsure about, and what competencies that were not applicable. So you get a really nice look at what the expectation of the person who filled this software out. Let's go back to the first page. And so it's very simple. That's it. As I said, if you're interested in a free copy of the software, again, it's freeware, email this email address, happyj1939@yahoo.com. Or if you have any feedback or critique or ways to improve the software, please email. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.